Richard clapped a hand on my shoulder as we walked into the hotel ballroom. Daniel, tonight matters. You'll meet the board, the investors, and finally my wife. She has been asking about you. I gave him a steady smile. I'll make you look good. You already do, he said, laughing as though my confidence amused him. The room buzzed with polished laughter. Crystal glasses chiming, deals being made under chandeliers. My eyes scanned the crowd, and then I saw her, Alina Hale. She moved through the guests like she owned the floor. A black silk dress hugged her shape, the fabric catching the light at every turn. Men glanced at her and quickly looked away, as if she burned to look at too long. Richard waved her over. Darling, meet Daniel. She stopped in front of me, and I felt the air shift. She extended her hand, palm warm, fingers soft against mine. It's good to finally meet you, she said, her voice smooth and steady. The pleasure's mine, Mrs. Hale, I answered, her lips curved. Alina, you can call me Alina. Richard chuckled. She's been curious about you, Daniel. I told her you're the reason I can finally breathe at the office. Her eyes lingered on mine longer than polite. Curious, yes. He doesn't. Praise often, and yet with you, he doesn't stop. I tried to keep my focus on Richard, but her gaze held me like a hook. We sat for dinner at a long table crowded with board members. Richard took control of the conversation, telling stories of acquisitions, numbers, victories. He thrived in the spotlight. But I kept noticing Elena's eyes flick toward me. When Richard leaned toward a colleague and launched into another deal story, Elena turned her attention fully on me. You don't talk much, she said quietly. Her voice meant for me alone. I let him take the stage, I replied. He enjoys it. Her wine glass touched her lips, red lipstick marking the edge. You enjoy being invisible? I'm not invisible, I said. I'm just careful. Her eyes sharpened. Careful men interest me more than reckless ones. Reckless men are predictable. Careful men know exactly what they're doing. Before I could respond, Richard clinked his glass for attention. A toast. To the future of Hale Enterprises, and to the man sitting beside me who is making it stronger every day. I raised my glass, heat crawling up my neck under Elena's stare. Later in the evening, Richard excused himself for a phone call. The moment he disappeared into the hall, Alina leaned closer. Tell me, she asked softly, what do you really want here? I glanced at her. I want to succeed. To learn. That's the answer you would give him, she said, masking what you want for yourself. Her question cut too deep. I shifted in my seat. Why are you asking me that? Because I like watching how you answer. She smiled faintly. Most men your age stumble when they feel tested. You didn't. I don't like games. Then why do I feel like you're already playing one with me? Richard returned before I could speak. He clapped me on the back and slid into his chair. Everything fine here? Elena's eyes sparkled. Perfect. The dinner wound down, with laughter and deals sealed over dessert, but I was no longer following the words. Her question pulsed in my mind, feeding a heat I tried to push away. When we left, I walked them to their car. Richard answered another call and moved a few steps aside, his voice raised in business mode. Alina lingered close. Too close. Her perfume curled around me, warm and intoxicating. You listen more than you talk, she said softly. That makes you dangerous. Dangerous isn't how I describe myself, I answered. She leaned slightly closer, eyes locked on mine. Careful then. But careful men are the ones worth breaking. I swallowed hard. You shouldn't say things like that. Maybe I shouldn't, she whispered. But you'll think about it when you're alone tonight. Her words slid under my skin. Richard ended his call and turned to us. Ready, love? Her face transformed into practiced warmth as she slipped her arm through his. Always. They stepped into the car. Richard waved to me before shutting the door. I stood. They're watching the taillights fade into the city. My chest tightened. Every instinct warning me I had stepped into something I couldn't escape. She had planted a seed. And even as I told myself to forget, I knew it would grow. Richard slid a glass of whiskey across the table toward me. You're coming with me again tomorrow night? Dinner with the Kensingtons? They'll trust you if they see you beside me. I lifted the glass. You want me to play the quiet shadow again? He laughed.
You do it well.
And Alina enjoys having another voice at the table when I go off into numbers. The mention of her name unsettled me, though I kept my expression steady. That's what you want. That's what I want, he confirmed, clinking his glass with mine. The next night, we sat in a private dining room with the Kensingtons. Richard held court as usual, his words sharp, his tone commanding. I nodded, responded when asked. But my attention kept sliding to Alina across the table. She wore a dark green dress that caught the light when she moved. Her laughter sounded lighter when her eyes met mine, softer when the conversation drifted away from Richard's dominance. Every time I looked up, she was already watching. During a pause, she leaned forward slightly. Daniel, what do you think? Should Richard push for expansion so quickly? Richard smirked. Careful, love. Don't put him on the spot, answered. Anyway, I think speed looks powerful, but stability builds trust. Her lips curved. Exactly what I was thinking. The Kensingtons nodded, impressed. Richard grinned at me, proud. You see why I keep him close? The rest of the meal? Blurred into numbers and promises. What I couldn't ignore was the way Elena's hand brushed my arm when she reached for her glass. The subtle glance she gave me as though every answer I gave was hers alone. When we left, Richard drove while I sat in the back seat beside Alina. He took a call the moment we pulled away, his voice rising as he discussed figures with someone overseas. Alina shifted closer, the fabric of her dress brushing against my sleeve. Her perfume filled the air between us, warm and disarming. She leaned slightly, her voice just above a whisper. You don't belong in his shadow. My chest tightened. I work for him. It's my place. She turned her head toward me, her breath brushing my ear. You think too small? I gripped my knee to keep my hands steady. You're crossing a line. Am I? She asked softly. Are you just afraid of what happens if you admit you see the same thing I do? Richard laughed into his phone at something his caller said, oblivious. I kept my voice low. You're married to him. Her hand brushed mine for a second, light as air, but it felt like fire. And yet I see you. I pulled my hand back, forcing my gaze toward the window. You should stop. She smiled faintly. You don't want me to.
Ow.
Car rolled to a stop at a red light. I could see our reflections in the glass, too close. Too dangerous. Richard hung up the call and glanced at us through the rearview mirror. Quiet back there. Are you two already bored of me? I forced a laugh, just recovering from the wine. Lightweight, he teased, shifting back into traffic. Alina smirked faintly. Oh. Settling against the seat, her hand brushing against mine once more. This time, deliberate. I froze, waiting for her to pull away. She didn't. When we reached there, home, Richard stepped out first, still speaking about tomorrow's schedule. Alina leaned close before I could move. You feel it too, she whispered. Stop pretending you don't. I swallowed hard. This will destroy everything. Looked at me with eyes that refused to let go. Then let it. Richard called from the doorway. Daniel, come in for a drink before you head home. I forced myself out of the car, my pulse hammering. Alina followed, her smile perfectly composed, her words still echoing in me as if they had taken root inside. Richard poured another round and raised his glass. To loyalty. Alina's eyes flicked to me, a challenge hidden beneath her calm expression. I clinked my glass with his, knowing I was already losing the battle I had sworn not to fight. Richard leaned over my desk as I was packing up. Daniel, I need a favor. There are files I forgot. Important ones. Drop them at my house tonight. Of course, I said. He smiled, distracted already by the next call ringing his phone. Pure. A lifesaver. Alina will let you in. I left the office with the folder under my arm, telling myself it was routine. Just another errand, nothing more. The Hale residence glowed against the dark street when I arrived. I rang the bell once and the door opened almost instantly. Alina stood there, barefoot, holding a glass of red wine. Silk dress fell to the floor like water. She looked at me as though she had been waiting all night. Daniel, she said softly. I cleared my throat, holding up the folder. Richard asked me to drop these off. She didn't take them right away. Instead, she stepped aside. Come in. I should just hand these over and let you get back to your evening. Her smile curved slowly. Don't be shy. It's only a glass of wine. Or are you afraid of being alone with me? My heart beat faster, but I stepped inside. She closed the door behind me, the sound louder than it should have been. She walked to the living room, her steps unhurried. I followed, setting the folder on the table. Thank you, she said, placing her glass down. Richard will bury himself upstairs. He always does. But you're here now. Shouldn't stay, I said, my voice lower than I intended. Sit with me for a moment. She gestured to the couch. If only to prove to yourself that you can? I hesitated, then sat, leaving a careful space between us. She noticed and laughed quietly. Always so disciplined. Tell me, do you ever let yourself slip? I try not to. Her eyes lingered on me, studying every line of my face.
Yes.
A shame, there's a freedom in surrender. She leaned closer, her shoulder brushing mine as if by accident. Her perfume curled into my chest. Do you enjoy being tested? She asked. I enjoy passing them, I replied, forcing steadiness into my voice. Her lips curved. But you haven't passed this one. Not yet. I shifted back slightly, gripping my knee. Alina, this isn't right. Then why are you still sitting here? She whispered. My breath caught, 'cause walking away feels impossible. Her smile deepened. She lowered her voice. Softer now, each word deliberate. You've thought about it, haven't you? I froze. About what? About what it would feel like if I let you close. Closer than this. My chest tightened painfully. You're Richard's wife. Her hand brushed mine, the contact light but deliberate. And yet I see the way you look at me when you think no one notices. I pulled my hand back slowly, every nerve alive. You're imagining things. She shook her head, sipping her wine again. You're a careful liar, but still a liar. Stood, pacing toward the table, trying to steady my breath. This will end badly. Her eyes followed me, calm, certain. You already know you won't leave. Not tonight. Why are you doing this? I asked. Because Richard doesn't hear me anymore. Because I need to feel alive. She tilted her head. Act. And because you make me feel it without even trying. Before. I could answer. A voice cut the air. Daniel, is that you? Richard's voice echoed from upstairs. My heart stopped. Alina didn't flinch. She took another sip of wine and called back, calm as ever. Yes, darling. Daniel dropped off your files. Richard's voice boomed again. Good man. Leave them on the table. I'll see you tomorrow. Of course I called, forcing steadiness into my voice. Alina leaned closer, whispering just for me. You'll think about this all night. That's enough for now. Grabbed the folder, set it firmly on the table, and walked toward the door without looking back. Her voice followed me, low and certain. You'll come back. You won't be able to stay away. The night air hit me like ice as I stepped outside. My pulse thundered, my chest heavy with something I couldn't name. She was right. I would think about it all night. Asterisk. Richard stopped me outside the conference room just as the last of the board members left. His voice was lighter than usual, almost playful, but his eyes studied me too closely. Daniel, can I ask you something? Of course, I answered, adjusting the files in my hand. He folded his arms, smirking faintly. Alina likes you. Words landed like a punch. My chest tightened, but I forced a laugh. She's your wife. She's polite to everyone. Not like this, he said, tilting his head. She mentions you often. Too often. I gripped the folder tighter. Maybe because I've been around more for dinners and events. It's nothing unusual. He chuckled, though his eyes didn't soften. Relax. I'm not accusing you of anything. It just amuses me. Alina likes attention. Always has. Don't think she means anything by it, I said carefully. He shrugged, clapping me lightly on the shoulder. Keep your head down, Daniel. I trust you. Don't give me a reason not to. I nodded, but his words echoed in my chest long after he walked away. All afternoon, I caught his eyes on me, sharp and measuring. Every glance became a test. Every laugh of Elena's replayed in my mind as though it carried a secret. By the time evening came, I was restless. I shut down my laptop, slid my phone from my pocket, and froze. A message blinked across the screen from Elena, "You can't avoid me forever." I read it twice, my pulse racing. My thumb hovered over the screen, but I couldn't type a reply. I locked the phone, shoved it back in my pocket, and tried to breathe in the elevator. I leaned against the wall, my thoughts colliding. Richard's words had been half a joke, half a warning. Now Elena's text felt like a trap closing around me. When I stepped out into the lobby, Richard's voice echoed from behind me. Heading out, I turned, forcing a calm smile. "Just finishing up?" He adjusted his tie, watching me with that same unreadable look. "Big week ahead. I need you sharp." "You'll have me sharp," I said quickly. "Good. Go get some rest." He walked past me, but I felt the weight of his suspicion lingering like smoke. That night, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, my phone still glowing faintly on the nightstand. I reached for it, opened the message again. Her words glared back. At me, I typed, "This needs to stop," then deleted it. I tried, "What do you want from me?" Deleted that too. Finally, I set the phone face down, pressing it into the table as though that could bury the temptation. But I couldn't escape the truth pulsing inside me. She was right. I couldn't avoid her forever. The next morning, I arrived. Early, hoping routine would steady me. Richard walked in later, his energy sharp, his smile faint. He looked at me for a long second before settling at his desk. "You look tired." "Just a late night," I replied. "Don't burn yourself out. I need your focus." "I'm focused." "Good." He paused, then added, "Dinner again tonight, with investors. Bring your best." "Yes, Richard." As he turned to his laptop, my phone buzzed inside my pocket. I knew before I looked who. It was Elena. Dinner tonight? I stared at the screen, my throat dry. Richard sat a few feet away, typing, trusting me, depending on me. Not here. I slipped the phone back into my pocket and forced my hands to stay steady on the papers in front of me. The hours dragged. Every sound sharper, every glance from Richard heavier. By evening, my chest ached from holding it all in. As we packed up to leave, Richard looked at me again, that same faint smirk tugging at his mouth. "You'll join us, right? Elena would be disappointed if you didn't." I forced a smile, of course. "Good man," he said, already turning away. My phone buzzed again as he walked ahead. "I told you. You can't avoid me. The wall's closed." And tighter, and I realized the truth I didn't want to face. It wasn't only her pulling me closer. It was me stepping willingly into the fire. Asterisk. The company trip landed us in a hotel that looked like it had been designed to seduce. The marble floors gleamed, the city lights spilled through tall windows, and every corner whispered temptation. I told myself I would stay professional, that I would keep my distance, but my reflection in the elevator mirrors already looked guilty. Richard was busy from the start. Meetings, dinners, late-night calls. He carried himself like a man in control, but I saw how Elena's smile dimmed each time he brushed past her. I noticed it because she made sure I noticed that night. After the last investor dinner, I stepped out onto the rooftop lounge. The city spread beneath me in restless light. I wanted air, space, anything to clear my head. "Running away?" a voice said softly behind me. I turned. Elena stood at the doorway, silk shawl draped over her shoulders, a glass of red wine catching. The glow of the skyline. "I needed quiet," I said. "Quiet never lasts in places like this," she replied, walking toward me. Her heels clicked against the stone, deliberate, like each step was a decision. I shifted, keeping my eyes on the city. "You should be inside. Richard will wonder where you are." She stopped close enough that I felt her presence warm against my arm. "Richard hasn't wondered about me in years." "That's not fair," I said quickly. "Fair," she laughed, though her voice broke around the edges. "You see how he looks past me? You've seen it." I swallowed hard. I try not to. "See anything?" She leaned in, lowering her voice. "That's what makes you different. You pretend not to look. But you see me. You see everything. Her words pressed against me harder than her body did. My throat tightened. Alina, this is dangerous. So is being invisible, she whispered. I turned to face her. The city lights painted her skin in gold, and for a moment she looked fragile, almost broken. She set the wine glass down and stepped closer, her hand brushing mine. Don't, I said. My voice sharp, her eyes filled with something that silenced me. Not mischief. Not the calculated seduction I had braced for. It was need. You're the only one who listens, she whispered. The only one who makes me feel real. Her head lowered against my shoulder before I could stop her. My chest ached with guilt, but I didn't push her away. I let her rest there, her breath warm against my shirt, her hand clutching my sleeve like I was the last thing keeping her from falling. I closed my eyes, fighting every instinct. I knew the line I was crossing, but I stood still, frozen between betrayal and desire. Then a sound cut through the night. Daniel. My eyes flew open. Richard stood across the terrace, framed in the doorway, phone in hand. The distance blurred the details, but not enough to erase the danger. I pulled back from Alina, my heart slamming against my ribs. Richard, I called, forcing my voice steady. I didn't realize you were done with your call. He nodded slowly, his silhouette sharp against the light. Long day, he said flatly. I was coming up for air. Alina straightened beside me, her shawl slipping slightly, her expression unreadable. Beautiful view, she said, her tone calm, almost defiant. Richard's eyes flicked between us, then he raised his phone. I'll leave you two to it. I have emails to answer. He disappeared back inside before I could breathe again. Elena's hand lingered near mine, trembling. He didn't see. He saw enough, I whispered, stepping away. This can't happen again. Her eyes glistened, but her voice stayed low and fierce. It already happened. You let me in. I didn't mean to. Yes, you did. Certainty shook me more than Richard's presence had. She turned, picked up her glass, and walked back toward the door. Leaving me alone under the city lights with nothing but the echo of my own heartbeat, I stayed on that rooftop long after. She left, the guilt tightening around my chest like a chain. The first betrayal wasn't a kiss or a touch. It was the silence I allowed. The weight I carried now was mine alone. And I knew the game had shifted forever. The office felt different when we returned from the trip. I walked through the glass doors and felt his eyes on me before I even reached my desk. Morning, Richard said. His voice was calm, but his stare lasted a beat too long. Morning, I replied. Forcing a smile, he followed me into the conference room. You enjoy the hotel? It was fine, I said, flipping open my notebook. Fine, he leaned against the table. Most people would call it spectacular. It was just another work trip. Not everyone treated it like work, he muttered. My chest tightened. What's that supposed to mean? He looked at me, unblinking. I notice things. Don't think I don't. I gripped my pen tighter. If you have something to ask? Me ask. He paused, then smirked like he'd won something. Forget it. Let's get the numbers in order for the client. The rest of the day, his eyes tracked me across the office. Each time Alina entered the room, the air thickened. They would brush close to me when passing a folder, her perfume lingering longer than it should. At lunch, Richard cornered me again. You and Alina talk a lot these days. She's your wife, I said carefully. Wouldn't it be strange if I didn't? Strange is one word, he replied, leaning in. Familiar is another. Before I could answer, Alina appeared. Behind him with a bright smile, Richard, you left your phone on my desk. He turned, his jaw tightening. Keep it. I don't need it. She set it down in front of him anyway, her hand brushing mine as she pulled back. Her eyes locked on mine for a second too long, daring me to react. Richard noticed. I saw it in the sharp line of his shoulders. That evening I found her waiting by the elevator. You need to stop, I hissed. Her smile widened. Stop what? Whatever game you're playing. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. It's not a game to me. You felt it on that rooftop? That was a mistake, I said. the words shaking in my throat. She tilted her head. Then, why are you still thinking about it? I pressed the elevator button harder than I needed to. You're reckless, eh? She leaned in, her breath brushing my ear. Reckless is wanting something you can never have and pretending you don't. The elevator opened. Richard stood inside. His eyes flicked between us before he forced a polite smile. Alina, he said, his voice clipped. Your car's waiting downstairs. She stepped in beside him, but her gaze stayed locked on me as the doors slid shut. The next week was torture. Richard's tone grew sharper, his questions more pointed. Why were you late this morning? He asked one day. Traffic. Strange. You live closer than I do. Another time he cornered me outside a client's office. If I ever find out you're crossing a line with her, it won't end well for you. I kept my jaw tight. You have nothing to worry about. I'll decide that, he said, brushing past me. Every warning made me want to keep my distance, but Alina made sure that distance vanished whenever she entered the room. She touched my arm when handing me papers. She laughed too loud at things. I said. She leaned over me during meetings, whispering questions that could have been asked out loud. Finally, I confronted her. I found her in the break room alone, pouring coffee. This has to stop, I said. She didn't turn, stop pretending, or stop feeling. I stepped closer, lowering my voice. You're putting me in danger.
You.
She spun around, eyes burning. He'll never give you what I can. My breath caught. This isn't about me. Yes, it is, she shot back. You think he trusts you? You think he'll ever see you as anything more than a tool? I see you. I know you. You don't know me, I snapped. She stepped closer, her hand pressing against my chest. I know the way you look at me when you think no one else is watching. I caught her wrist and pushed her hand away. This is going to destroy us. Both. She smiled, slow and certain, then let it. The door creaked. Richard walked in. Alina, he said coolly. I didn't realize you were here. She picked up her coffee and brushed past him, just leaving. Richard turned to me. His eyes lingered. What were you two talking about? Work, I lied. Work makes her smile like that. His tone cut. I forced a laugh. I wouldn't know. He didn't laugh back. He studied me for a long moment, then walked out without another word. I leaned against the counter, my pulse racing. The shadows were closing in. Richard's suspicion, Elena's obsession, my own weakness. I knew I should run, but I also knew I wouldn't. Every time I swore it was the last, she found a way to pull me closer. Every step I took toward her felt like another nail in the coffin, sealing the life I once had. Asterisk. I should have said no when she invited me. Every instinct told me to stay away. But when Alina called, her voice trembling just enough to sound vulnerable, I agreed. We met in a private room at a quiet restaurant across town. Candlelight flickered. Against the walls, throwing shadows that felt too intimate for what she claimed was only dinner, she smiled when I sat down. I wasn't sure you'd come. You gave me no choice, I said. We said it was important. It is, she replied, pouring wine into my glass before I could refuse. I need you to hear this from me, not through whispers or suspicions. I leaned back, wary, then say it. Her eyes softened. I've been thinking about leaving Richard. The words hit me like a punch. You can't be serious. I've never been more serious, she said, her voice steady now. Can't breathe with him anymore. Every day feels like a performance I don't want to play. I gripped the edge of the table. And you're telling me this why? Because you're the reason, she answered. My chest tightened. Alina, don't, she interrupted. Can't tell me you don't feel it too? That night on the rooftop wasn't an accident. What's happening between us isn't a mistake. It's the only thing in my life that feels real. I shook my head, heat crawling up my neck. Do you understand what you're saying? Do you understand what this means? Her lips curved into something closer to victory than confession. It means I've finally stopped lying to myself. I leaned forward, lowering my voice. Richard ever finds out, it won't just destroy your marriage. It'll destroy me. Her hand reached across the table, covering mine, then let it. I would rather burn everything down than keep living like this. I pulled my hand back, my pulse hammering. You don't get to decide that for me? You already decided, she said, her eyes cutting through me. The moment you let me rest my head on your shoulder, you chose this. I opened my mouth to argue, but the door swung open. Richard walked in. The air in the room snapped cold. My throat closed as he stopped at the doorway, his gaze bouncing between us. Didn't expect to find the two of you here, he said slowly. I scrambled for words. We were just talking, Alina finished smoothly. Flinch. She reached across the table again, this time deliberately placing her hand on mine. Her fingers curling around it as if sealing the lie into something unshakable. Richard's eyes locked on our hands. The silence was heavier than any accusation. Alina, he said finally, his tone sharp. Can I speak with you outside? She didn't move. She looked at him with a calmness that made my stomach twist. Anything you have to say, you can say here. His jaw clenched. This isn't the place, and make it the place, she replied, her hand tightening on mine. I tried to pull away, but she held me fast, her nails pressing into my skin. Like an anchor, Richard's stare burned into me. So this is what it is, he said, voice low. It's whatever you think it is, she answered. Don't play with me, Alina, he snapped. Not with him, she leaned back, finally releasing. My hand, her expression unreadable. You see what you want to see? Not here to explain your insecurities. Insecurities. His laugh was bitter. I've been watching the way you look at him for weeks. What about the way you look at everyone else? She shot back. Do you think I haven't noticed? My head spun. I felt like an intruder in a war I had no chance of winning. Don't turn this on me, Darchard barked. Then stop pretending you care about a marriage you've neglected for years, Alina said, her tone sharp as glass. Neglected? His fists tightened at his sides. I've given you everything. You gave me a cage, she spat. I stood abruptly. Enough. This isn't my fight. Richard's eyes snapped to me. It became your fight the second you sat at this table. Raised my hands. I didn't come here for this. I didn't ask for this. Elena's voice cut through me. But you didn't walk away either. Richard turned to her, disbelief etched into every line of his face. You brought him here. You wanted this. Wait. She didn't deny it. She only stared at him, calm and deliberate, as if she had planned every moment. That silence told me everything. This was no accident. She had set the stage, and I had walked right into it. Richard's voice dropped to a whisper, more dangerous than his shouting. Be very careful, Elena. She lifted her glass of wine and took a slow sip, her eyes never leaving. His I already am. I could barely breathe. My heart thudded against my ribs, every beat screaming at me to run. But I stayed frozen, caught between them, exactly where she wanted me. Richard finally turned and walked out, the door slamming behind him. The sound echoed through me like a verdict. Alina placed her glass down and smiled at me, calm as ever. Now, it begins. I stared at her, horror and desire tearing me apart. What did you just do? What I had to, she said simply. You think I'm afraid of him? I'm not. He's been holding me hostage in a life I don't want. Tonight, I broke the lock. You dragged me into this, I said, my voice breaking. Her smile softened. You were already in it. I just made sure he saw it. My pulse thundered so loud I could barely hear my own voice. He'll never forgive me. He was never going to, she whispered, leaning closer. But I will. I pushed my chair back, shaking. You've trapped me. Her eyes gleamed. No, I've freed you. But I knew the truth. But that night forward, there was no freedom. I wasn't caught between them anymore. I was locked inside her design, with no way out. Asterisk. Richard's voice came through the intercom like a summons. Come to my office. My chest tightened. I already knew what this was about. When I stepped inside, he was standing by the window, his back straight, hands clasped behind him. Blinds cut harsh shadows across his face. He didn't look at me when he spoke, closed the door. I obeyed, the click sounding louder than it should have. His eyes finally met mine, sharp but unreadable. Tell me the truth. Are you seeing her? My throat dried instantly. Richard, no excuses, he interrupted. I want the truth. Swallowed hard. We've spent time together, yes, but not in the way you think. His jaw tightened. That's not what she told me. The ground slipped beneath me. What did she say? That you pursued her, he said flatly. That you cornered her. That you wouldn't take no for an answer. My stomach dropped. That's a lie. She seemed convincing, he replied. She looked shaken when she told me. Shaken. I stepped forward, desperate. She planned everything. That dinner, that moment you walked in, she wanted you to see it. His eyes narrowed. Why would she do that? 'Cause she's not afraid of you anymore, I said. Because she wanted to break free, and I was her weapon. He studied me carefully, as if weighing my words against hers. The silence stretched until I couldn't breathe. Finally, he said, I trusted you. The disappointment in his voice cut deeper than rage. I would have preferred him shouting, cursing, anything but that quiet devastation. I tried again. Richard, listen to me. I never went after her. She came to me. She made the first move. Do you have any idea how pathetic that sounds? He asked. Every man who cheats says the same thing, that it wasn't their fault. I shook my head violently. I didn't cheat. I didn't betray you. I fought it every single time. But you didn't walk away, he said sharply. You sat at that table with her. You let her touch you in front of me. I tried to pull away. I insisted. She wouldn't let go. He turned back toward the window, his reflection fractured in the glass. Do you know how humiliating that was for me? To walk into a room and see my wife's hand on yours? To see her look at you the way she used to look at me? I closed my eyes briefly. I didn't want that. You think intention erases damage? He asked. You think your hesitation makes this better? I took a shaky breath. I didn't want to hurt you. His shoulders rose and fell, the only sign of his breathing. You already did. My voice cracked. Richard, please. I need you to believe me. He finally turned back, and for the first time I saw, not just anger, but grief. I believed in you. I thought you were different. Do you know what that means? That I let my guard down around you? That I trusted you with her? The weight of his words crushed me. I never asked. For this? Neither did I, he said coldly. Silence stretched again, unbearable. I wanted to scream, to shake him, to make him see the truth. But his expression told me nothing I said would reach him at last. He walked behind his desk and sat down, his hands folded as if the conversation were a transaction. From now on, I expect strict boundaries. Professional, minimal interaction. If you step out of line again, you're done. The finality in his tone felt like a prison door closing. I managed a whisper. So that's it? He confirmed. You can leave. I stood frozen. You think I'm the villain? His silence was answer enough. I backed toward the door, my legs barely holding me. The office felt colder than the night outside. And every step carried the weight of betrayal I hadn't committed but couldn't escape. When I reached the door, his voice stopped me. One more thing, he said. I turned, my chest burning. If you ever cared about me even a little, stay away from her. I wanted to argue to say she was the one who wouldn't let go, but the look in his eyes silenced me. It wasn't anger anymore. It was something worse. It was loss. I nodded, unable to form words, and left the office. The hallway blurred around me. My hands trembled as I pushed through the exit and into the night air. I leaned against the wall outside, gasping, my chest heavy. Richard hadn't screamed. He hadn't threatened. He had looked at me like a stranger, like someone unworthy of even his fury. That hurt more than any punishment. I had lost his trust, his respect, and maybe even his friendship, and all of it was Elena's design. Asterisk whispers followed me everywhere, in the hallway, in the elevator, even in the silence of my own office. I could feel them. Richard barely looked at me now. When he did, it was with the cool detachment of a man who had already decided I was guilty. I stared. At my phone vibrating on the desk, another message from her. You can't ignore me forever. I silenced the screen, but the dread stayed. A knock at the door. My assistant stepped in, her eyes skimming past me too quickly. Richard asked for those reports. Do you want me to send them? Or should you? I'll do it, I muttered. She nodded, almost hesitant, and left. The shift was everywhere. People avoided small talk. Conversations hushed when I entered a room. My name had become a rumor carried on every breath. The phone buzzed again. Dinner tonight. No excuses. I pressed call instead of reply. She answered instantly. You're not listening, I said. Her voice was soft, but sharp. And you're not learning. I told you what happens if you keep fighting me. I can't do this anymore, I snapped. Everyone sees it. Talk. They look at me like I'm poison. Richard doesn't even trust me to hand him a piece of paper. That's because you're weak, she cut in. You flinch instead of owning it. If you stood with me, none of them would dare. This isn't about strength, I shot back. This is about you enjoying every second of ruining me. A pause, and she said calmly, Don't flatter. Yourself. I don't need to ruin you. You're doing that all on your own. My grip on the phone tightened. You want control? That's all? This isn't love. This isn't even desire anymore. Her tone shifted, lower, dangerous. Say that again, and I'll walk straight into Richard's office and tell him everything. In detail, my chest burned. You already told him enough. He thinks I betrayed him. Thinks you wanted me, she corrected. And he's not wrong. I slammed the phone down, but it didn't help. Her voice still echoed in my head. That night, I sat in my car long after everyone else had gone. The building lights dimmed and I couldn't bring myself to move. Another buzz. Another message. You're mine, Daniel. Don't forget it. I drove to her place. When she opened the door, her smile was almost tender. I knew you'd come. Not here for you, I said. She stepped aside anyway. You're here because you can't decide if you hate me or crave me. Inside I paced. You've backed me into a corner. Every time I try to walk away, you drag me deeper. She closed the door slowly. You don't walk away because part of you doesn't want to. That's what terrifies you most. My voice cracked. You've destroyed everything. My career, my reputation, Richard's trust. And now you're trying to finish what's left of me. She moved closer, unshaken, destroyed. No, transformed. You're not the obedient man he thought you were. You're mine now, and that truth can't be undone. I turned on her, furious. You're delusional. Her eyes flared. Say it again. Say I'm delusional. And tomorrow morning, every single person in that office will know exactly how far you went with me. My breath caught. You wouldn't. Smile curved, dangerous. I already did once. What makes you think I won't again? I felt trapped. Cornered by her words, her presence, her power. You're sick, I whispered. She touched my arm lightly, deliberately. And you're addicted, I pulled back. But the heat of her lingered. No, I'm done. This ends tonight. Her laugh was low, cruel. You think you get to choose? Daniel, you lost that the first time you let me kiss you. My chest tightened, painfully. I don't even know if I want you or if I just want my life back. Her eyes softened for a fraction of a second, then hardened again. You want me. Otherwise you wouldn't be standing here. Otherwise you wouldn't still answer. Every time I call, shook my head, fighting the pull in my chest. I answer because I'm afraid of what you'll do if I don't. Fear is still power, she said calmly. And as long as I have that, I own you. I stared at her, hatred and desire twisting together until I couldn't tell them apart. Finally, I said, one day you'll push too far. Her smile widened. And one day you'll stop pretending you want me gone. The silence after that was suffocating. My phone buzzed again in my pocket. I didn't need to look. It was her message. Always her message. Even when she stood right in front of me, I walked out without another word, her voice calling after me. You'll be back. The night air hit me cold, but it didn't clear my head. I didn't know if I hated her or if I still wanted her. Both burned and both were destroying me. I knew the end had come when Richard called me into the boardroom instead of his office. The long table stretched between us, empty chairs like silent witnesses. Sit, he said, Voice clipped. I obeyed, my pulse hammering. Richard, I don't. Speak! He cut me off. Not yet. His eyes burned into me. The silence dragged until he tossed a folder across the table, slid to a stop in front of me. Read it. I opened the folder. Printed messages, screenshots, Elena's words, her games, her taunts. My name tied to every one of them. My throat locked. Where did you? She gave them to me herself, he said sharply. Thought she was untouchable.
I thought I'd...
Forgive her because she smiled at me the right way. The weight of his stare crushed me. I trusted you, he said, voice low but venomous. I brought you in. I gave you responsibility. I treated you like family. And this is how you repay. Me, Richard, please. You have to understand. You never what? He snapped. You never touched her? You never wanted her? She tells me you chased her. You tell me she trapped you. Which one of you am I supposed to believe? I slammed the folder shut. She lied to both of us. She wanted control. She wanted to ruin me. His laugh was harsh. And you let her. That's the part I can't forgive. My chest ached. I didn't ask for this. I fought her. I tried to walk away. Then why didn't you? His voice rose. Why didn't you tell me the truth before she did? Am I finding out everything from her mouth instead of yours? Because I was a coward? Because every time I thought of confessing, I heard her voice threatening to destroy me. But none of that mattered now. I thought I could fix it, I said quietly. I thought it would end if I stayed silent. He shook his head slowly. Destroyed yourself the moment you stayed silent. The door opened. Elena walked in without hesitation, her heels clicking on the polished floor. Richard. She purred. Don't waste your breath. He's not worth it. I shot to my feet. You set this up. Her smile was calm, almost radiant. You ruined yourself. Only gave you the push. Richard's face hardened. Do you even hear yourself? You burned everything we built, Elena. Met his gaze without flinching. You never saw me? Not really. Yeah, but he did. I slammed my fist on the table. I didn't see you. Saw the fire you used to burn everything around you. She tilted her head at me, amused. You still came back every time. Richard stepped forward, his voice cracking with rage. Get out! Both of you! You think you can turn this into some twisted triangle? But I'll end it right now. I tried to reach him. Richard, don't throw away everything we built together. My work? The years I put into this? You already threw it away, he barked. You think you still have a place here? You don't. Clean out your office. The words hit harder than any punch. Richard, please, this isn't just a job. You're more than my boss. Stop, he said coldly. Nothing to me now. My chest burned with regret so sharp it felt like knives. Elena's hand brushed my arm as she passed. At least you'll never forget me. I pulled away violently. You ruined me. Her whisper was soft, but her smile was bright. No, Daniel. You ruined yourself the day you wanted me. Richard shoved the door open. Get out, both of you. Never want to see either of you again. I staggered into the hallway, my legs heavy, my world collapsing. Elena followed, calm as ever. Don't look so broken. You lost a job, a mentor, some reputation. I lost a husband. We're even. I turned on her. Even, you still have everything you wanted. My life is gone, and you're smiling. She leaned close, her voice a silken dagger. I only wanted one thing, Daniel. To make sure you could never forget me. And I succeeded. Her perfume clung to the air even after she walked away. I stood there alone, stripped of everything I had built, everything I thought I was. Richard's words echoed in my head. You destroyed yourself. He was right. I had let her in. I had let her own me. And now, even in her absence, Elena's shadow was carved into me. I would never escape it.